Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now that feels very weird because the only things I usually post on here is my commentary show reel, and in terms of the clips that I post on TikTok, Instagram, etc, I put them on the shorts feed. But this is this is technically related to the shorts that you may have seen here on YouTube, and it basically is me asking you the question, what is the best last lap in motorsport history? Now, we got a couple of answers. I'm reacting, I'm ranking. That's what we're doing here as well. As it's a bit long, I thought, why not? I've always wanted to post a bit of long form content on YouTube. This is the excuse to start doing that. So, here we go. Let's get going. Now, where do we begin? I've got a very unorganized list over here, which is just great, isn't it? It's great. First of all, one I was in. That's a bit of a quote from memory of one of the comments I got. One I was in. Now, we're starting off with this one because it's going right at the bottom. Now, this person, of course, was in a last lap, I'm sure, an amazing last lap, but that's all they've given me. I don't unfortunately have a series, a league, any video footage. I don't need league names and all of that stuff. At least I do need footage of what happened, or even radio commentary, something. Unfortunately, I have nothing, so I believe it was a good last lap. I'll believe you, but unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what happened on that last lap, so I can't really do anything else, can I? Other than put it in last place. Now, it wasn't the only one. It wasn't, this person wasn't the only one that was like, okay, let me just pick my own. Because George Given also sent me an Instagram message the other day, basically saying, my last lap move, when I went all the way around the outside to make it a drag race to the line and to take P2 and P3 respectively on the road. Now, this is going second last. Now, the thing is with this, I was actually commentating on this last lap, so technically I should put it first. But the standard is very high, and unfortunately, George Given, as amazing as it was, a second or a third place finish won't seal the deal. It needs to unfortunately be, because of the high standard we have here today, the only way to really get it is if it was a battle for the lead, because it's when a last lap can be at its absolute craziest, let's just say. Right, that's George Given out of the way in terms of his one, and this other person as well, which I've forgotten their name of. I did not note down names. It was someone on YouTube. I'm sure if you go to the YouTube shorts of it, you'll find it. But yeah. So the two esports ones, unfortunately, because one I can't see, and two was for second and third. Unfortunately, they find themselves in the bottom two positions. Right, moving on, and the next ones are all real life last laps. Where do we begin? I'm doing this all on the fly, by the way. I'm doing it all on the fly. It's all happening at this moment right now as we speak. 2025 Cindy 500 race 2. I feel like it's quite a last lap battle for the win. And what I mean by that is, you get once or twice in a season. I made this comparison to the Formula 2 Miami one. You get it once or twice in a season where they're going 3 wide out of the final corner. Now, I would say this last lap is better than the example I've just given of the F2 Miami last lap, because they did actually end up having a drag race to the line rather than a 3 wide, which ended up, by the time they got to the finish line, all single file. It's a very good last lap, in my opinion, this one. It's a very good last lap. It is a last lap that gets you out of your seat if you're sitting. If you're someone like me, who's a commentator and who's standing, you're already out of your seat. You're jumping up and down instead. But it's a very good last lap. With the standard that we're dealing with today, unfortunately, it is not the best last lap in motorsport history because the standard is so high. It is honestly so high. But I think it's a very good last lap. I think it is a very good last lap. But I don't think it can compare to some of the ones that we have coming up. Now, Jack, if you've made it 5 minutes into the video, then first of all, thank you for watching. I know he's actually one of my subscribers as well. Like, I think he's like one of the only people who follow me on other social medias, or who know me on other social medias, I should say, who actually comes and follows me here. In terms of on YouTube, this abandoned place, he decided to follow me. But don't worry, I'm living up to it now. I'm actually, posting videos. Now, going back to the point, if he has made it this far into the video, he might be leaving in a few moments. Because, sorry to say, next up, 2003 Darlington NASCAR Cup Series. Now, what I will say is, I did actually put this technically below the 2025 Sydney 500 race to finish. And then I was like, that is surely not right. No, absolutely not. So then I put it back. And then I changed it. So if I can keep you happy to some degree, I'll let you know that bit of behind the scenes information. In my head, as I said, I haven't written much down. I just wrote down every single last lap someone's given to me. Not in any chronological order or anything, just all plotted down. And I'm going to use commentator skills to pick out the information and basically just take it out on all of you. Right, should I actually explain why I've put this last lap here? Should I? No, actually, we're not going to do that. I want to give you a bit of context of how we're doing this. I spoke with a few people, and basically the judgment that we were able to get was, I haven't watched every single motorsport series and every single last lap. You haven't watched every single motorsport series and every single last lap. Therefore, I think it's very easy to say that there will be biases and there will be, to some degree, people not knowing about other things existing. Now, of course, I've actually had to watch all of these last laps that have been suggested. So I'm not looking for context. This is the thing. I'm not looking for context about the series. Of course, naturally, I know context. I know NASCAR most likely would get a crazy last lap. I know the likelihood of NASCAR getting a last lap is much more than a single-seater race, for example, etc. I know that short oval racing is more likely to possibly, get a last lap move. For example, a specific race, Indy 500, is more likely to get a last lap move than a single-seater race. It is just the way things work. So I've just basically kind of removed a bit of social context to it and just focused completely on the job at hand, which is, does the last lap give you goosebumps? How does that last lap feel? And I think I've done a fair job. When we get to the final two, I think you'll understand. This NASCAR's final lap, it seems like an average lap to me. I'm really sorry. It really feels like an average last lap. An average NASCAR last lap. Once again, I'm not a NASCAR fan. Because JB Motorsports cover it, I have to watch it to some degree because I'm not saying I force myself to watch it, but naturally it's on the screen. When I'm behind the scenes, when I'm doing other things, it is on. It is there. It is existent. And if it's a last lap, my eyes are obviously going to go to it to see what's going on. That is just the way things work. So when I take a look at it, I feel like that's what you get most weeks. Like something wild. I would say, okay, if you told me that was the best last lap of the year for NASCAR, I would be like, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. I feel like, though, there definitely has to be some other context behind why. Why is that being regarded by you, Jack, as the best last lap? I feel like there is some other context that I'm missing. But once again, if I show that to any motorsport fan who's willingly gonna admit that, okay, that's crazy, even if they may not follow that series, if they can say that was exciting, then that was exciting. That's at least the way I'm looking at it all. Unfortunately, it was exciting. It was a good last lap, but we have high standards. That's a word I keep repeating. But because we do, we have high standards. Right, next up, where are we going? So I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and I've done this. What remains is Freedom 100 2013. I feel like that is a very great last lap. Very extraordinary last lap. 4 cars all battling all the way, 4 wide to the line. What else would you want? It is an unbelievable final lap. It is an unbelievable final lap. I love it. But did it give me the same feeling as these other two that I'm about to mention? Maybe not. I feel like this, however, could be a bit influenced with context. I feel like with at least one of the clips that I'm about to mention in a few moments that are in my top 2, I do feel like to some degree it is better, but it's not because of the atmosphere and what the other one is, which is to just be expected. But if I had an interest in this series, and if I do feel like if we remove, we'll get to it. I'm not gonna answer it. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it. I think it'll spoil my what's coming up and what I've thought of in my head in terms of some of the things. I love the last lap. It's 4 wide to the line. It's outrageous, but I've picked 2. Let's just say let's segue our way into it now. I've picked 2. Well, sorry, no, I've not picked 2. You've said 2. I've picked 2 from that collection as what is my favourite last laps. I really, really think that the Freedom 100 is good, but it's not on the level of the 2 above. For multiple reasons, and we're going to get into it. Right, should we get into it? Brands Hatch British Superbike 2011 last lap. This was not mentioned by 1 people, this was mentioned by 2 people. 1 people, 1 person, 2 people. Anyway, good I'm not commentating right now. It was mentioned by 2 people in total. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking, well, where do I take this next? It is a last lap that leaves you speechless, and that is why I'm speechless. I'm not commentating on it right now. I'm not reacting to it right now, but I'm speechless. Just thinking about it in my head. It is a fantastic final lap. It's a fantastic final lap. And you can't argue against that. I love it. Bikes are going everywhere. Commentators are everywhere. In terms of they're trying to hang on to their voices. They're using every single bit of voice they have left. It is what you love about broadcasting. It's what you love about what's going on the circuit. It's a championship. I think it was the final race of the season. It was a championship decider as well. Everything about this last lap is crazy. Which is why it would go P1. So hold on, but I've not ranked it yet. I've not ranked. These 2 I've not ranked yet. I've not put this second yet. Just want to say. It would rank P1 easily if something called the Indy 500 did not exist. Now, Oracle, Matthew Owens, I'm sure you haven't made it this far into the video. If you have, wow, you've actually decided to listen to my waffle. If something called the Indy 500 didn't exist, it would be an easy decision. But something called the Indy 500 does exist, and specifically the Indy 500 2024 final lap. It is just unbelievable. It's more than unbelievable. It is perfection, that last lap. What does that last lap not have? Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, nailing it on commentary. Going silent, letting the pictures flow at the right time. The commentary is unbelievable. The crowd noise is unbelievable. Them roaring the drivers on that last lap is unbelievable. And that's only an atmosphere that you can get at the Indy 500. And that is why it's the Indy 500 that's in this discussion and maybe not something else. Because I'm kind of using GCSE media skills to some degree in this, where it's a bit like you're analysing just a specific clip and you can only think about and you can only look at that clip. That's what I mean in terms of without context. Like, if we remove that, it's the Indy 500, even if from my head. The crowd noise, the commentary, what is not perfect about that last lap? The moves, the overtakes, the pass and repass, the history that's on the line. Okay, well, actually, to be fair, the history I shouldn't involved in that if we're removing context. Goodbye, history. Can't talk about you. Can't talk about you. I would lose marks in my argument as to what's the best last lap. So no, unfortunately, sorry to say, taking you out of that history side of it. But the noise, that the crowd is making, the car sounds, the drivers, the moves. What is there not to love about the Indy 500 last lap? And therefore, we're 15 minutes, 12 seconds into the video. 13, 14, 15, 16. Still counting up, don't worry. And I think it is impossible to pick one out of these two. We've got to look at it from this perspective. What is more wilder? And what's just... So I would say there's two best last laps. And these two fill the spots. Set up. What is just unbelievable pass, repass, chaos, commentators losing their voice, carnage, bikes everywhere, championship on the line. You're on the edge of your seat or possibly jumping up and down if you're standing up. That is the British Superbikes Brands Hatch 2011 last lap. Everything's going on, and it's that last lap where it's all just happening and you love it for that. There's more happening on the last lap compared to the 500. But because the 500 has so many other aspects going on, the commentary, for example, and the importance of the last lap, which is why the commentary is done in that way for a 500. Because, for example, for a British Superbike race, you're not going to get such crowd noise and you're not going to let the pictures flow in the same way. So there's, of course, differences in terms of that. Both commentators did an absolutely phenomenal job for the scenario that they're dealing with, in my opinion. However, the Indy 500, it's hard to not get goosebumps from it. And I think that's possibly a bit of event bias to some degree. I think it is event bias, in my opinion. But as I said, the crowd noise, everything about that last lap is just perfection in the Indy 500. All hell breaking loose, go over to British Superbikes, in my opinion. Best last lap in motorsport history. You want pure goosebumps, it'd be absolutely wild, and it'd just be an unbelievable finish. Where, in my opinion, you don't need more on the last lap. That was enough, because I feel like everything that built it up until that point was just absolutely fantastic and unbelievable. All of that, then the Indy 500 is your one. So, I know I've kind of weirdly answered that and just spread it across so many different ways, but the way I'm going with this one is that a lot going on. British Superbikes Brands Hatch, glamour, just unbelievable. Don't know a word to describe it. Indy 500. If I was to rank one above the other, because that's what you've clearly come here for, Indy 500 gets my pick. Sorry to say, I think that's a bit of car bias as well. Oh, what a surprise. A commentator who commentates single-seaters and cars picking it over bikes. Sorry. I just love cars. I just love it. We've had some great finishes over the years in motor racing. And in my opinion, the Indy 500 just gets it. But I don't feel like it has it all. In terms of, if I got the Indy 500 last lap every single day of the week, I'd be happy. But I would just miss, like, at every moment, there being a side-by-side and, you know, just the craziness of a Brands Hatch championship finale. Because that isn't the Indy 500, but also the Indy 500 is not your last day of school championship decider. The vibes of it, they're all completely different. I look forward to a championship finale at the end of the year, but I look forward to the month of May. I hope that has somewhat answered the question in terms of what is the best last lap in motorsport history according to you, because, you know, you picked it. I, in my opinion, decided one. So, there we go. There we go. Well, that is going to bring an end to this YouTube video. Thank you very much for watching. I cannot promise that I'll be consistent. I feel like this video will go out and then there will be a bit of a break because I'm still fighting with exams at the moment. In terms of revision. I should be revising. Can you see over there? Point properly. There we go. Can you see how much revision I'm doing? It's wild. No, I'm joking. I need to lock in actually. I need to properly lock in. All of that is going to be useful tomorrow. It's going to be very useful tomorrow is all I'll say. Anyway, I'll stop whispering because I'm a commentator and, you know, we're all naturally just annoying and loud and everything. And I'll end this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to have to say the YouTuber phrase. I'm sorry. You can mute if you'd like. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Now, that would be it back in the day. But I believe this hype or something ridiculous. I don't know how it all works. But, you know, do what you want. Share, I guess. Just do things. Just do what you would do for other YouTubers, I guess. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. And I will see you all. I will see you all at some point. I'm not a YouTuber. I will see you whenever I post a game, if that's any help. Goodbye.